We pull up some slides. We're doing kind of a combo today. Let me get this rolling real quick. So I'll try to bring as much energy as I can. I've already done 2 tours of business video school webinars today, so I feel like I'm running on fumes a little bit. But
tired.
You know, it's all good. We'll keep it rolling. So here's what we're doing today. I've been kind of experimenting with YouTube ads over the past few weeks and gotten some kind of cool results. You know, some things that I was excited about. Now, let me qualify it. I got the results for business video school, so this wasn't necessarily real estate ads we were running, but I figured, you know, this is becoming something that is a much larger opportunity, and I want to start sharing it with real estate agents. So today's going to be kind of an overview. I want to show you what's possible. I really want to show you, especially some of the targeting you can do on YouTube for real estate. Is really exciting if you were accustomed to doing some of the cool targeting that Facebook had like about 2 years ago before they got kind of cracked down by the fair housing situation. So that's what's cool about YouTube ads. But here's the trade-off, right? YouTube is a big opportunity right now. There's not a lot of real estate agents that are doing a good job on either side, either the free organic version or the paid ad distribution part, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And so there's not much noise. It's a great chance to kind of get out there, establish yourself. YouTube is, you know, sometimes it's the #1 traffic site in the world behind Google. So it is huge. It is very comparable to Facebook, if not bigger in some ways. But there is a catch, and the catch is you need to make videos, okay? So that's the big thing about YouTube, and that's a big reason a lot of agents aren't doing it. If you look at sort of the lead gen strategy that emerged on Facebook over the past maybe 5 or 6 years, which I think is being overdone at this point. I think there's too many agents kind of competing for that same attention. That was possible because it didn't require any video, right? You could just run sort of a picture-based ad. You could run just drive people to your website and you could get leads super affordably. Well, that's gotten really crowded because obviously it wasn't that hard to implement. You can sort of copy what other agents are doing. YouTube is sort of a blue ocean still at this point. So if you're willing to get on camera, if you're willing to make videos, you can run YouTube ads. You can target people who are actively looking for houses right now, and you can start to attract those people into your business, all right? So as I was doing this, you know, for our business, I started to kind of research things from the real estate side, and I thought, you know what, this is really cool. We should definitely start talking about it and sharing it with agents. And since we're business video school, and I would assume most people who come to our webinars are interested in making video or are already making video, I figured we'd be talking to the right audience here today, okay? So let's get started. First thing I want to do is let's talk a little bit about YouTube, kind of, you know, the 10,000 foot view, so to speak, really understand what's going on here. So it's the second largest search engine on the planet behind Google. And guess what? When you search Google, a lot of times they're going to show YouTube videos as some of the search results. In fact, a lot of times they will show the YouTube videos before any other organic search results. So if you are competing with somebody who's spending tons and tons of time and money to rank really highly on Google, and you're willing to go out and make videos and put them on YouTube about the same topics, you can actually sometimes show up ahead of your competitors who just aren't simply making videos yet, okay? So not only is it the second largest search engine in the world on its own, but the content on YouTube is also showing up on Google. I assume most people know this, but obviously Google owns YouTube, which is why they pull results from YouTube, okay? YouTube itself is massive. They have over 2 billion monthly users worldwide, so they're very similar in size to Facebook. The big difference being that YouTube is all video, right? So it's not quite a social platform in the same way that a Facebook or Twitter or Instagram might be, but there are still a lot of social aspects to YouTube, and especially if you get really active in the comments and really encourage engagement, you can have a lot of the same kind of conversations that you would have on a more traditional social platform, all right? It's the second most preferred platform for watching TV. It's got 70% of what is watched is due to the recommended algorithm. So that actually is kind of a big opportunity for you, at least from an organic standpoint. We're not talking about that much today, but a lot of what ends up getting seen on YouTube is recommended to people, right? So even if you don't have a big following, you can get on there and start to build one. And then some of the, you know, basically the research suggests that the best time to post is weekdays between 2 and 4 p.m. On YouTube, I'm going to tell you, I don't think when you post is nearly as important as sometimes it is on other platforms. Because again, it is search-based. People are going to be finding this based on things like what you put in the description, what the video is actually about. One of the key factors on YouTube you want to keep in mind is the watch time, right? So if someone does get to your video, are they sticking around and watching the whole thing? That is going to be a big determination for whether or not more people are going to end up seeing your content organically, right? 73% of American adults use YouTube. I think that number right there alone should get you very excited. That is the large majority of adults across the country are using YouTube. Another thing I'll say about YouTube that I think is working to your advantage right now is it doesn't come, like YouTube does a lot of the same things Facebook and the other platforms do, but it doesn't seem to be getting the same degree of flack in terms of like the tracking and things like that, right? So I do think you're also getting a little bit of a better, image when you're working with YouTube versus Facebook has just been taking years of, it seems like one scandal after another and sort of one controversy after another. The latest being the whole social dilemma, documentary and people kind of the backlash that comes with that. You're not necessarily dealing with that with YouTube. Now, that doesn't mean they're not doing some of the same stuff, but just want to mention that real quick. And then if you look at the age breakdown, this is really kind of a beautiful age breakdown. There's a lot of people in the age ranges that you're probably looking for, right? So we talk about things like TikTok, sometimes we talk about Instagram, we see a much younger audience. YouTube, you do have those people. This is one thing about YouTube I'm really impressed by is like they have everybody, right? I mean, if you look at a lot of times when you get a platform that has the older people starting to join, the younger people tend to flee. Well, that's really not happening with YouTube. Everybody's there. And I do think that's because it is not quite the same kind of social platform, right? Like you can still feel sort of separated from your parents if you're a younger person on YouTube because it's not based on social spheres. It's based on just you watching what you want. It's more of a content engine. And so because of that, Google's really been able to attract, pretty much the entire United States population and a nice distribution all across the age ranges. So it's not only a good place to get in front of people who are currently looking for houses and currently looking to get into real estate, but it's also a good place to continue long-term strategically getting in front of a little bit of a younger crowd that will move into that audience over time. So either one of those things you want to do, you can definitely do it on YouTube. And obviously when you get into the paid ad side of things, you can be as specific as you want to be.
Hey, Nick, real quick, too. One thing that we didn't even mention there, for those of you that aren't familiar or aren't overly familiar, you're all familiar with YouTube, but we always talk about the future of social media. YouTube is the future of television. They say by 2025, that will be the preferred medium over cable or satellite TV. So when we explain this to our audience, we say just having a presence there is the reason why. So even if you're just creating content and you're posting it to Facebook or Instagram or any other platforms, start just housing it on YouTube, because when by having that presence, when the shift as it continues to evolve, you obviously then can pick up market share, get more known, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, this is, I think that, the competition amongst all these advertisers, the platforms that sell ads as their main source of revenue. And for Google, it's 80% of their revenue comes from advertising. Facebook, it's like 99%, right? But they're all competing for the gold standard. For like decades, the gold standard of advertising was television commercials, right? I mean, it still is in a lot of ways. And so YouTube, I think, positioned themselves the best to capture that. And obviously they're reaping the benefits. So yeah, in a lot of ways, that's what's cool about this kind of ad approach is like you're basically running television ads, except you can do a lot more tracking and you can do a lot better targeting. Now, that being said, this is a topic for another webinar, maybe. Some of the television providers are now starting to provide this kind of targeting that we're going to be showing you today. So they're sort of catching up in some ways. And so now all of a sudden, both of these are really appealing, I think. But anyway, moving on. So on mobile alone, more 18 to 49-year-olds watch YouTube during prime time in the United States than they do the top 10 primetime shows combined. Okay. So again, thinking about that from the television aspect Jeff was talking about, this is where they're spending their time. This is where they're putting their attention. And a lot of the TV shows, I mean, sometimes it shocks me the kind of stuff you can get access to on YouTube for free. Stuff that would be like on HBO, and hey, you can watch most of it for free on YouTube, right? So a lot of the stuff you would see on TV is there too. And this is where people are spending their time, and it is not shifting back in the other direction anytime soon, okay? So let's talk about the ad platform. What I'd like to try to do today, we'll have another, is I'm going to give you kind of a crash course. I'm going to give you just some of what you can do. I'm going to give you examples of the kind of videos that work really well as advertisements on YouTube, and then I'm going to show you how to set up an ad, right? it's not going to be comprehensive. This is not an in-depth training, but I'm going to try to give you sort of a quick overview and in particular show you some of that targeting. So I'm going to move, relatively quickly so we can make sure we get to that. Let's first talk about the ad campaigns and sort of what you have control over here, right? So you can choose your budget, you can choose your time frame. So if you're familiar with any other platforms, very similar in that sense. You can choose targeting in 3 different ways, and you can do combinations of these. So you can choose topics, you can choose keywords, and you can also target people based on demographics, right? Basically, almost anything you can imagine, you can target them based on, right? What I've noticed is that YouTube is going to skew a little bit more in the direction of where are people interested, what are they watching, what are they spending their time with, and a little bit less of the demographics, right? So one thing I noticed is like I can't necessarily go on like I can on Facebook and target people who have listed themselves as real estate agents, but I can go on and target people who have been looking up real estate marketing videos, which, to be quite honest, I think might be even more useful. So I think some of the targeting features that YouTube had are really interesting if you can think more about how people behave and less about who they are, right? You can show, obviously, video ads are the main type of advertising on YouTube. There's different types of video ads. I'll show you a couple of those today. And then one of the really cool things you can do, and this is called placements, so it's where your ads show up, but I kind of think of it as another form of targeting. And that's the fact that you can actually, so the channels and the videos, the channel has to have turned on monetization, right? So you have to have allowed for ads to show up on your channel. But if they do that, you can target specific channels or videos, right? So literally, if you have like a real estate agent in your community that has built a really big following on YouTube and they allow ads on their channel, you could literally run ads on their channel, right? And I'm not saying that you should do that. I don't know that that's all that productive for you, but that is something that's possible based on the placements there. Jeff, were you going to say something? I saw you unmuted yourself for a second. Never mind. All right, True View ads. So one cool thing on YouTube is that you can also pay for your ads, specifically when people watch at least 30 seconds or click on the ad. Now, there are ways to do this on different platforms, and the truth is, no matter what, whenever you're running ads, you're ultimately paying for impressions, kind of no matter how you get charged. But it is really cool because you can come in here and say, I only want to spend this much money per view, and YouTube will make sure that you don't spend more than that per view that you're getting or per click that you get, right? So that is another really nice aspect of this, is you can be very controlled in how much money you're spending and also how you're spending that money. Okay, so let's talk about the ad types, because there are different versions of ads that you can run here, and this is something that you're probably going to want to experiment with a little bit and kind of A/B test and whatnot. You have, first of all, non-skippable in-stream ads. So you're probably familiar with these. These are your 15-second or shorter video ads that you are forced to watch, right? So one thing I will always say is anytime you have an ad that someone does not have the option to skip, there is a little bit of frustration that comes with that experience, right? So if they're seeing an ad that they appreciate, that they like, then go for it, right? But you can get some more backlash. And I've seen that, especially when Facebook first rolled out their in-stream ad feature. People really couldn't stand being forced to watch like even just 15 seconds, right? So I do think that, again, they're building towards having the same thing as TV commercial breaks. So these things are not going away. They are super impactful. Obviously, they work well. But if you're trying to build a local respected brand, you might want to be a little bit careful with non-skippable ads because they can generate a little bit of frustration for the viewer. Obviously, the more sort of traditional one that you're going to be used to seeing on YouTube all the time is the skippable in-stream ads, which also fall under the True View targeting, right? The True View bid process. Because in this case, you're seeing 5 seconds and then you have the skip button. The cool thing about these is they can be really any length you want. I've literally seen some ads that are like 10-minute long trainings. But obviously, once they watch 30 seconds of it, that's going to count as a view. And then that's what you get charged for. So it doesn't matter if they watch, if you have a video that's that long, it doesn't matter if they watch 5 minutes or just 30 seconds, you are going to get charged for it, right? And these are going to play before, during, or after other videos on YouTube. That's probably going to be where you start unless you really want to be designing much shorter videos, all right? You also have video discovery ads. So the difference here is that this is where your video is going to show up as an option for people to watch. Obviously, it's going to say ad on it. So it's the sponsored post, kind of shows up at the top of the search results. But that's a great way to get discovered by people, right? So if you don't necessarily like the idea of putting your video ad right in front of somebody else's video, this would be a good option for you because it's a little bit less pressure. People get to opt into it a little bit more, and they're probably going to watch more of the video. The downside being you're probably going to spend more per view because you're letting them choose whether or not they want to watch it. So again, depending on what your objective is, that could be a good fit. And then another popular type of ad is what's called a bumper ad. This is a 6-second or shorter video ad. It runs before, during, or after other videos. Again, you're probably used to seeing these, and it is non-skippable. So it's, again, only 6 seconds. Those are going to be really good if like you're trying to remind somebody of something. Maybe they've already watched a bunch of your videos and you want to sort of pop back in, but hey, make sure you click that link to get signed up for an appointment, whatever it might be. But they're only 6 seconds, right? So you got to be really, really concise with them. My guess is that for most of you, unless you're really experienced with video, it's very hard to get a proper message across in 6 seconds. So keep that in mind. But those are the most popular forms of video ads on YouTube, okay? So let's walk through sort of the steps you're going to need to do to get started here. And then I'm going to give you some ideas for the kinds of videos you might want to consider running as ads. Then we'll get to the demo. So first of all, you are going to need a Google Ads account, all right? They don't have a particular separate advertising account for YouTube. So just like if you want to run Instagram ads, you do that through the Facebook Ads Manager. Same thing applies here, right? You're always going to go to Google Ads, and then you're going to run your ads on YouTube, all right? So if you already have a Google advertising account, if you've ever done any of their search ads or things like that, you are already ready to go on that front, but you will need that ad account with Google. You're going to need to make sure your billing is set up and you've adjusted any account settings, basic stuff just to get up and running. But there's another way to get started, which is if you do have an ad credit that you can use. And sometimes I know Google seems to be somewhat generous to get new advertisers on the platform. So I would encourage you to kind of poke around a little bit, see if you can find an ad credit. But otherwise, you're going to definitely need to have a card on file to get started. Another thing you have to keep in mind here, remember, we're running video ads, right? So you do need to have the video on YouTube, all right? You can't upload it when you're making the ad. So what you need to do is make sure you've uploaded the video that you want to run as an advertisement to YouTube. If you don't want it to be public, you can list it, you can make it unlisted, right? So if it's unlisted, that means it's not going to show up on your YouTube channel. It's not going to show up on the page there, but you will have access to it for YouTube ads. And if you give someone the link to it, they can still find it and watch the video, but it's just not going to be publicly listed, right? So again, I'm going to say that most of the kinds of videos I'm going to suggest you run as ads are going to be focused on, awareness and letting someone get to know you and build a relationship with you, which is, I really think, the big opportunity here. In most of those cases, your video can be uploaded as normal because you're probably going to want people to be able to see it on your channel as well, okay? And then what you want to do is get in, create your first ad campaign, which I'm going to be showing you how to do a little bit of today. What I would recommend is don't go overboard on the first one, all right? Start small, start simple, maybe $100, maybe even $50, just a little bit to kind of get it going. I will show you my stats on a campaign I just ran recently where I was getting views for 4 cents a piece. And again, remember, those are 30-second or longer views. So those are pretty valuable views. So you don't need to spend a lot of money to start seeing what's working. And so start simple and then sort of scale up from there as you're learning, okay? Okay, so next one I want to do is I'm going to give you, I think we have 9 different ideas for different kinds of videos. I do want to give a shout out to Malcolm Lawson, who runs a training group on YouTube for real estate agents. Some of these ideas came from an article he just shared the other day. So definitely check out, I think it's called YouTube Real Estate Mastermind is his group on Facebook. I definitely highly recommend that if you're looking to get into the organic side of YouTube, building your channel up and building your followers there. But these videos are also really good as ads. So I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. Here's the main concept, right? Is you have to combine who you're targeting with the content you're making, right? So it depends on how you want to target your ads. Now, what I'm going to show you how to do today is how to target people who are looking to buy or sell a house, who are looking at homes in a particular area, right? I would say for most real estate agents, that's very valuable targeting, right? So you want to make sure that you're showing them the kind of content that's going to make sense for that group of people, right? So an example, so for instance, one video that works really well on YouTube that does tend to generate a lot of business organically is real estate relocation guides. So I did want to include that. So an example would be like 10 things to know before moving to St. Louis, right? And then you kind of run through a bunch of different details. And again, Malcolm's got some great examples if you want to check his stuff out. What you want to do is you want to kind of make this video that covers popular area questions for someone that's considering moving to that area. Now, I will say this, if you're going to target your ads to people who already live in a particular community, relocation videos are not necessarily good ads, right? So those are very effective for lead gen on YouTube. They're not necessarily the most effective unless you are targeting people who are going to be moving, right? So there are ways to do that. In fact, if you want to find the videos that are already produced that are like that, right? The people that are putting out guides about how you can move to my town, and then target those videos with your ads and put a similar video in front of them, you might be able to pick up some of that attention, right? Now, one that will make a lot of sense for your local community are going to be community-based videos. And this is going to cover a huge range of things, right? So a popular one is touring a neighborhood. So again, if you're an agent that works with people that tend to move within town, obviously that's what most people are doing, right? This could be a great opportunity. Feature a neighborhood where you would like to help people buy or sell more homes, right? Because here's the thing. Obviously, people who want to list their house, a lot of times they're looking to move, so they're also buyers. We know that, right? But on the other hand, people who are going to sell their house really like working with agents that seem to know a lot about the neighborhood where that house is, right? So if you go out and you do a drive-through, I mean, you can literally just drive through a neighborhood, kind of show the most popular areas, do a little voiceover on it, create a highlight video for local restaurants, local attractions, things like that. Someone who's thinking about listing their house is going to be attracted to that as well, right? So you don't always have to think, oh, well, this is where they're going to end up moving to. By demonstrating your expertise, that you understand that community, that neighborhood, all the best features of it, you're going to be able to attract listing leads that way too, right? So I think it can kind of work in both directions. And again, the targeting you can do is pretty cool here, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes, right? Obviously, listing videos, I mean, those are going to be great for both selling the house you're trying to sell, but also attracting other people. I've noticed that there's definitely a trend now in real estate where if you make good listing videos, several of the people that we've interviewed here in LCA over the past few months, if you make really good listing videos, people who are thinking about listing their homes see that. And a lot of times what those agents will say is that those people reach out and they'll say, hey, if I work with you, will you make one of those really cool listing videos for me? Here's the thing, most of those videos that are doing really well, that are attracting listings, attracting sellers, have an agent in the video, okay? So these aren't just nice listing videos. These aren't just like what you put on the MLS. This is usually where you're in the video, you're walking around, you're giving a tour of the home, right? Like sort of think, sort of like HGTV when they're touring a really cool house. And obviously, you've got a couple examples here that you can go check out. We talked to Brad McCallum a couple months ago. I think he's a great example of this. He even was able to do a listing video on a house that was not his. He was not the listing agent on it. And that video attracted a bunch of other people who had top tier listings that said, oh, I really like that video you did. Will you do something similar for me, right? So think about it from that perspective. You can pick a neighborhood that has, let's say you want to do luxury listings, kind of pick a luxury community. Get out there, and what Brad literally did is he went out and he kind of volunteered to make this video for a $5 million+ listing, make this video and then show it as an ad to people who live in those communities. And they're going to go, oh man, that was really cool. I could see that being a great way to market my house. I want to talk to you, right? So that's a great option as well in terms of your advertising. We got two more lists
Nick,
of this. Yeah, as I said, do you want to take any questions?
I got booted, and I wanted to mention something earlier. And if you talked about it, just tell me you did. But when you talk about keywords on because somebody asked that in the Q&A earlier, and when you're talking about keywords on YouTube, here's a simple trick. Think, what are people searching on Google? So it's not one word; it's a phrase. What are they searching? I want a pool in X city of X state, right? Be very specific with your keywords, especially when you're using these videos, when you're doing community videos and when you're doing listing videos and where you're doing community videos or like a subdivision video. Use phrases rather than just words, because that's how you're getting found through Google searches. Remember, when you go into Google, typically you type several words. You don't type just one word. And so get in the mind of your potential audience or your consumer and think about what are they typing in, and that's how you make yourself more findable.
Cool. Yeah, and we had not talked about that, Jeff, so you're good there. Cool. All right, so next let's look at just one second. Was these suggestions for, okay. So Vanessa, she sometimes hands me notes and I don't know what the context is. So these are, she had some suggestions for you in terms of where to find those keywords, because that's a really good point. So keyword planner, if you go into the Google, so you're going to have a Google Ads account. There's a tool inside of there called keyword planner, and you can use that to look up what's going really well. Also Google Trends, and that one I think you can access without even having an account. Google Trends is great. It's going to show you the growth or decrease in the popularity of certain keywords over time, so you can find what's kind of up, heading up there. Uber Suggest is another good one, and then TubeBuddy if you're looking for places to really dial in your keyword game. So just
I use TubeBuddy and I recommend it. Anant has actually chimed in. He said keywords everywhere. And by the way, if you don't follow Anant, he is a Chicago realtor. He does a great job of creating his own content that's very specific to Chicago. I highly encourage you guys check him out as well. He does a great job of it.
Cool. Well, let's give you a few more video ideas because I want to make sure we have enough time to look at the actual ad platform. Client testimonials, no brainer. You should have them all the time. Here's the thing I will say about client testimonials. Make sure they know you're going to ask them to do a video before they show up. Okay. I see too many of these closing table videos where the client seems kind of that they're being asked to be on camera all of a sudden and they didn't dress very well, right? So just make sure they're prepared. Ask open-ended questions or even make statements. So say something like, tell me about your experience of working with XYZ Realty. By saying that, instead of saying like, did you have a good experience? Because if you say, did you have a good experience working with us? They're just going to say yes. It's not a very good video. Have them tell the whole story, right? Allow them to give an entire statement as a response. These are great for lead conversion. So again, you don't necessarily want to just run one video and be done and expect a bunch of people to sign up with you. A lot of times you want to give them something like you saw on that first page, something community focused, value driven, and then maybe you follow it up with one of the ones you see here, right? So a client testimonial, maybe an about me video, just telling your story of why you got into the business, right? I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, this is actually in business video school, the very first homework assignment we give our students is to make that video. Tell me why you got into your profession, right? Because even if it's not the most exciting story, almost everyone finds that interesting, right? And especially if you've been in the industry for a long time, they're going to find that really compelling. And sometimes if you're a new agent, telling people why you got into the business and showing them that passion can overcome some of the negative image of being so new, right? So about me videos are great. Educational videos. So this is, again, another one that could go earlier in your advertising process. But one that I think is super easy to make is just get your top 5 or 10 FAQs. What are the most commonly asked questions that you're getting from customers? Answer those into a camera and run them as YouTube ads. I mean, you can put them everywhere, right? But get them out all over the place. They're going to be real estate specific, right? So I don't want you to make all your content just about real estate. But a lot of times those are questions everyone else has, right? There are some things that you are super, super familiar with because you're in the industry that everyone else does not understand, right? So like, for instance, like things like escrow, things like title insurance, like those are things that as an agent, you fully understand, or you should, right? And then a lot of the rest of us have no idea what they are. And so just because you know about them doesn't mean that if people are asking questions, they don't make really, really good videos. And sometimes that's the kind of stuff with clients, because, you might have a client out there, a prospective client thinking, I've never had anybody explain that to me. You just did it in 2 minutes with a YouTube ad. Thank you, right? I mean, they may actually appreciate seeing your ad in that case, all right? Those are a few video ideas, and then 3 more for you. Parody or skit videos. These are getting pretty elaborate. One to give, Bob Tompkins a little shout out here because we interviewed him just a few weeks ago here in LCA. He is, as far as I know, and there's probably others, but he is really sort of the king of this. I mean, he's done some incredible music video parodies, right? But be creative, have some fun with it. If you can make somebody laugh, I mean, think about the experience people typically have with ads. Me, for one, I get ads all the time on YouTube that are like for courses on how to sell courses and stuff like that. And it just gets to be like monotonous and obnoxious. If I saw Bob show up and start dancing and singing, I would probably watch the whole thing, right? So have some fun with it. Do something that's going to catch someone's attention, and then they're going to want more. They're going to look forward to seeing that next video, right? Another good one is navigating your website. You'd be surprised how much trouble some people can have just simply navigating even super simple websites. So just simply showing people it's a super easy video to make, screen capture. You can use a plugin on your browser, and you're good to go, right? And then another one is obviously market update videos. It's not an evergreen video, but it does show your expertise. I think market updates are heavily overdone, but if it is specific to that audience, right? So if you can make a market update that's about particular neighborhoods or about specific communities and then show that video just to the people that live there, that is hyper targeted, right? That's very relevant. And I think people in that situation will appreciate it. Now, right now, I think market update videos are more useful than they are in a typical market because we're in a really weird real estate market right now, right? If this was sort of a typical fall and things were sort of, decreasing in volume like they typically are right now, yeah, not that exciting. But right now it is a hot topic, so it's definitely a viable option for you, all right? Okay, so I'm going to hop on over for the next few minutes here and show you kind of a quick rundown of what this all looks like on YouTube. Now, before I do that, there is one thing I wanted to promote a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and post a link in the chat right now, okay? So we're not talking about our email list or any of that today. What I am talking about is tomorrow we are hosting a tour and demo of Business Video School, okay? So if you've been to these webinars before, you've probably heard a little bit about us. If you haven't, that's fine. Bottom line is this: if you're the kind of agent that wants to be using video more frequently in your business, right? So maybe you've never made videos or maybe you've started to, but you want to get better at it. You want to get more comfortable on camera. You want to learn where to distribute your videos, what to say in your videos. We have a lot of really cool stuff to show you. One of the most popular things that I'm going to demonstrate to you on this tour, if you do want to go ahead and go get signed up for it, is I'm going to show you our video recipe system, right? So every single week, we make a video that you as a real estate agent could make yourself, right? So it's always about either a real estate topic or it's something that would make sense for a real estate agent to talk about. We shoot our own version of it using just a phone. So we do it exactly as simply as you would need to do it on your end. We send you the script, we send you the sample video, we send you instructions on how to make it, we write the Facebook post for you, we even show you how to use an app called Big View to simply load your script onto your phone, read it back into your camera, and you've got a finished video for the week, right? So for our students, they're able to make one of those if you want to every single week. So at a bare minimum, you have at least one video every single week. That's just one aspect of the school. We have courses, we have workshops, all kinds of other stuff that I want to show you. I don't want to take up a bunch of time today. So if you go ahead and click on that link and get registered, I will say this: there are 4 different tours that you can access through that link, right? And it says, right, I'm actually getting feedback here. It says the first one is October 22nd. So I think it may have been get the wrong link possibly. So we'll get you the right link here. I apologize for that. But let's go ahead and jump on over to opening the wrong things here. I'm going to go ahead and get the the screen shared for the Google ads. But in the meantime, Vanessa's going to find the right link for us, and we'll get you registered. Either of those works. So if you want to register for one of the ones I just shared, you can. Tristan, go ahead.
Really quick. I want to share something while you're shifting over to the other screen. It's something that is going to allow you to use YouTube like TikTok. And when you were bringing up the ability for us to be able to talk about certain sectors of real estate, whether it's inspections or processes like escrow or just purchases or selling, we can shorten those into these really short videos of 60 seconds or less. And they're called shorts. Now, it's something that YouTube announced middle of September, which is not even that long ago. And let me share my screen while you're doing that, while you're looking for it, buddy.
Go ahead.
I'm going to grab it so that people can see what this is and how they can use it. Let me know if you can see my screen, guys. It's just words. Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. So this is how it works. It's going to be very similar to TikTok in the sense that you can shoot these little short videos. And once you click here, this is not on for everybody, but I'll show you a hack really quick. So you would click on upload video on your phone, and then see here it says create short. And then you would be able to create a short video for 60 seconds or less. Now they're doing that because they understand how powerful short videos are, and that's where social is moving to. Now, if you don't have that, there's a little hack that they tell you right here. It says, look, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Because you shoot a 60-second video or less and you hashtag it with shorts right there in the title or the description. And YouTube's got a whole separate section for shorts that show up. And I've tested that and it's worked for me very well. So be on the lookout for that. because YouTube is changing that, and you're going to be able to promote these as well with what Nick's about to show you, which can be even more engaging on short videos.
Awesome. Love it.
And if you have any questions on that, guys, you can always just shoot me a text. I'm going to put up my phone number up there.
Tristan, do you actually share your TikTok videos to YouTube by chance?
You know, I tried it 2 times. I think, was it you that I saw, Jeff?
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it. Yeah.
And I guess it just depends, like hit or miss. But if the YouTube video, if the TikTok video is more like educational, kind of like what Nick was saying, or kind of like whatever you want that audience to look like, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
And Jeff, that's where I would probably try to get that TikTok branding off of the top corner and just leave it at the bottom one, right?
That's smart.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we're going to get running through this here. And again, please remember, not a comprehensive educational training. We're just showing you the basics here. I went ahead and put the new link in the chat. I apologize for that. We have a bunch of tour and demos. We literally do one every single week. So the link I gave you is for the one starting in a week or two. But the new link I just put in the chat is for tomorrow. So I want to just take a second, hop over to the chat, click on the link. And please come join us if you're curious. I mean, this is a very transparent tour. We show you everything you want to see. You know, you can ask questions. We'll click on things you want us to show you. It's very, very thorough, and it's a chance to really figure out if our educational approach, the accountability, the support, all of the different things that we do inside the school are a good fit for you. So again, go over into the chat on the link I just shared, and if somehow that link is not working, please let me know. But that link should be good, and that should take you to the tour for tomorrow. Okay, so let me dive into YouTube ads here. So the first thing I want to show you real quick is this. This is the ad that I ran, and I think I spent about $70 total running it. And this is the thing that I just absolutely love here, which is the audience retention, right? So this is right here where I'm holding my mouse right now. That's 5 seconds in. Now that's what everybody has to watch, right? After that, they can click the skip ad button. And so here's what happened after that. This is everything from here on out are people watching the video of their own choice, right? So they could have skipped it. And the video is 1.5 minutes long. Not the longest video in the world, but you know, especially if you're on Facebook, that's a long video for an ad, right? At the end of this, we had 28% of people watch the entire thing. If you look at more like the kind of 50-second mark here, there's still 40% of people watching this video. So of all the people who are shown the ad, that many of them stuck around and watched it. Now, this was a very targeted ad. It's a very targeted video. But the result here was that I was able to get views, and views on YouTube are 30 seconds or longer for just 4 cents, right? Now, I'm sure there's people in the audience saying, oh, I've run one of these and I got views for 1 cent. And, you know, obviously we could continue to dial this in, but this was targeted at specific YouTube channels that agents tend to watch, and that's my ideal audience. So I don't care if I'm paying a little bit more than if I just targeted anybody I could, because I'm getting views from people who are future prospective clients. So let's take a look at how to do this. What you do is you come into your Google Ads Manager, you come into your video campaigns, and you just click on new campaign. I don't know if it matters if you're in video campaigns or not, but you click on new campaign. The first option you're going to have is you can select a goal for the campaign, right? So if you're trying to drive website traffic, you can select that, app promotion, leads, all that kind of stuff. I typically just do, a campaign without guidance, because that allows me the most flexibility. And then when you get to the campaign type, obviously we're going to be running video ads. So we go ahead and click on that, right? The next thing you can do is click on a campaign subtype. So one thing I will mention right now before I move on is one that's really cool is this thing called an ad sequence. And what that does, it allows you to show videos to people in ads in a particular order based on what they did when they saw the first video. I mean, you can literally say if they watch the first one, if there's a view on that video, then show them the next one. You can say if they skip the first one, then show them a different video. You can get really creative, but I would encourage you, that's a little bit more advanced than we'll cover today, but you can create these series and literally let people get to know you over a course of time, and then get more aggressive with your calls to action later in that series. So that's just one I wanted to mention because I think it's pretty cool. For this purpose, we're going to leave this as a custom video campaign to show you as many of the features that are available here inside of this process. All right, so we click on that, we click continue, and we move on. If you do want to make any changes to that, you can come up here to where it says video, type video campaign, and click the little edit button and make changes. All right. All right, moving on, you got your campaign name. Now, again, I always tell people, make sure to be specific with your name because you don't want to, if you end up running 10 or 20 or 30 campaigns over time, you don't want to lose track of which one was which. So you want to give it a specific name there. And the next thing you're going to have is your bidding strategy, right? So this is where you're going to decide how you want to spend your money. In this case, do we want to put a maximum cost per view, right? So we talked about that earlier with the true view ads. You can cap how much you want to spend per view. Or do you want to have a target CPM, which basically means, do you want to pay based on how many, it's basically 1,000 impressions, right? So do you want to pay based on that? Or do you want to pay based on view? We're going to leave it as view in this case, because that's what we're talking about. The next option you have is budget and dates, okay? So you have a couple options here in terms of how you spend your money. You can either spend daily or have a campaign total. Either one is fair game. Just for the purposes of an example here, we'll spend $100 over the campaign total, and then you choose a start date and an end date, right? So you can obviously schedule your campaigns to start at certain times, right? So if you want to have a campaign that runs, just during a particular holiday week or just, during a festival that's going on or something like that, you do have that control. Now, you don't have to set an end date, right? But I do, at least if you leave it as daily. If you leave it as daily, you can just let this keep running, right? If you do have a campaign total, you do need to set an end date in that case. I'm going to recommend, especially if you're new to this, always set an end date. I do know people who have run ads where they had a daily budget and then forgotten that they had the ads running, all right? And even if you're spending $10 a day, but you forget about it for a few months, you can rack up quite a significant bill if that happens, okay? So I just, especially for beginners, if you're not logging in and out of this all the time, go ahead and put an end date on it and you won't have that potential problem, right? Now, your next option here are your networks. So again, I'm not going to recommend you mess with this when you're first getting started, but if you don't want your ads to show up in the YouTube search results or on the display network or for some reason on the YouTube videos themselves, you can make changes to that. Again, most times we're just going to leave that to default, not to overcomplicate it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This is one of the key things I wanted to show you today, which is locations, all right? Now, the default is the United States, which is not going to be useful to, I would assume, pretty much everybody here, right? You want to be targeting people in a particular place. So we're going to select enter another location, right? Then we're going to go ahead and click on advanced search because this is where you can get very specific with what you target. So I'm going to show you two things really quickly. One is zip codes. So if I want to target a particular zip code, I just go ahead and type it in and I click on target, all right? And now only people in this exact zip code in the St. Louis area, it's kind of a weird shape, but only people that are in this zip code are going to have a chance to see those ads, right? So that's targeted. That's very targeted, right? That can be very useful for real estate ads. Another thing you can do here, and I'm just going to pick an address here. No. Let me think about this.
Nick, while you're doing that,
sorry, I'm on the wrong one. You got to switch over to radius, and then you can search for an address.
While you're doing that too, I'm going to give a lot of people who are interested in Anant's YouTube page. There's another one too that I would recommend you guys follow or check out. It's called East County Eats. It's a friend of ours named Kyle Whistle, and he used his East County Eats page to create content around this county in San Diego, but then he sprinkles in real estate. So check that page out, East County Eats. That's another good one to follow.
Cool. So I showed you zip code. I also want to show you radius. And so if you click on radius here, you can type in an address. And what's really cool is you can go all the way down to a 1 mile radius. Right. So that's similar on Facebook, but you don't have the same restrictions on YouTube that you do with sort of the special ads categories that you would on Facebook. Right. So in this case, I picked an address in the downtown St. Louis area. I did 1 mile. You can go all the way up to 500 miles. Again, don't know why you need to go that high. But you can get really, really specific here with your targeting, right? So that's one way that you can do the targeting, and that's going to be location-based. That's a really important one to know. Next thing is you can select a language. You probably want to select English unless you're targeting Spanish speakers. You can select Spanish and target them. And then moving on beyond that, there's a few more things. We're kind of running low on time, so I'm not going to cover everything in detail. You can control the inventory type. So for instance, if you want to be careful about showing your videos on controversial content, you can select limited inventory, so it prevents you from showing up on types of content that might be a little bit more controversial. You can even come down here and exclude additional types of content. So if you want to exclude like mature audiences, content that's not been labeled with a rating, teen audiences, all that, you have control there as well. So that can be particularly useful. All right. Now, the next thing I want to show you, and probably the most important thing, is the targeting. So again, here you have demographics. This is where you can get in here and choose ages. You can be controlled in terms of, gender, all that kind of stuff. Now, if you are advertising for real estate, don't mess with this, right? Because you still, even though you can technically control these things, you don't want to violate the Fair Housing Act, right? So I would probably leave those alone unless you have something that's a little more community-based and it's not specifically a housing ad. You also have this section for audiences, right? And this is where it gets really interesting. So when you select audiences, you're going to have a bunch of different things you can choose from. Now, here's one that I searched earlier that's really cool, right? So again, if you just want to write this down, you can search for this inside of this tool, and that is purchasing a home soon, right? So this is people who are preparing to buy a home. I don't think you can find better targeting than that on really any of the online platforms that I've found, right? Another one is you can search for, we just search for house. So renovating home soon, home renovation, again, purchasing a home. So that's another one. So people that are actually purchasing so this is people who are preparing to buy a home or have recently bought a home. You don't necessarily want people who recently bought a home, purchasing a home soon. And so you can kind of come through and look at these recently moved. Again, that's after the fact. And then here we go, in-market audiences. So people who are looking for houses for sale, right? That's another one. So those are the two big ones. So the people who are looking for houses for sale. So again, houses, and then in bracket or in parentheses, for sale. That's another thing you probably want to write down. Those are the two that I found so far that are sort of no-brainers in terms of real estate targeting, right? So again, think about what we just did here. We chose a particular neighborhood, and then we chose just the people in those neighborhoods who are looking to buy a home, right? That's extremely powerful targeting here, right? We see people are saying income targeting is a good filter as well. I mean, that certainly can be the case, right? Again, keep in mind, as long as you're not actually advertising housing, you can get a little bit more creative with the targeting. But obviously, being able to target these people and then being able to choose the neighborhoods is going to be huge. And then a few other things. We do need to wrap up here in a second because we need to get off before the end of the hour. But you can choose based on keyword. You can choose based on topic. And the last one I'll show you is the placements. Because again, this is where this gets really interesting. You can come in here and target specific YouTube channels. You can even target specific YouTube videos, right? So if there's, so for instance, I think speaking of Bob Tompkins, like if I was Bob and I made a video that was a parody of WAP, I could come in here, target the WAP music video and put my parody in front of it. I'm sure that people would think that was absolutely hilarious. You probably would get a lot of attention for something like that, right? So think about that from a creative standpoint. And then to wrap things up here, what you're going to do is this is where you put in your cost per view, right? So if you want to say, I don't want to spend more than 10 cents per view, you can go ahead and put that in there, and that's going to cap your expenses, right? So that's a really nice feature here. And then finally, you simply come down here and search for your YouTube video. So let's we had a smooth home tour footage. I don't know if it's going to pull up or not. But let's just, here we go. Let's just grab this random video. It's a completely meaningless video. I was searching for my own, but it didn't come up, right? And then you can search what kind of video ad format you want. We're going to do skippable in stream. And then this is really simple. I mean, one of the things I do like about YouTube is once you've made the video, most of the work is done. You simply put in your final URL, your display URL, and then you can add a call to action, which will show up here as a button, right? So your ad will look just like this. It'll play, before or during other videos on YouTube. They'll have the option to skip it, and then it'll have your call to action there. And this is where you can type out. You can actually have a custom call to action, right? And then you just click on Create Campaign, and your campaign is up and running on YouTube, all right? So again, this was not meant to be a comprehensive training. I'm sort of really aiming to sort of spark your interest in all of this. But what I think is so cool about this is you can get really targeted. You have to make a video, so you got to do that part of it, but you can get really targeted with who you're putting your videos in front of, and you can build that relationship. And I think that's what I want you to think about. If we think about Facebook 5 years ago, it was all about lead gen. You can definitely generate leads. I'm not saying don't try to generate leads, but I am saying use this as an opportunity to let people get to know you, right? Don't be unwilling to share your personality. Don't be unwilling to put out content that isn't specifically about real estate. What people are ultimately going to do here, and this is true for all video, is they're getting to know you, right? They're getting to build what's called a parasocial relationship with you. And if you let that happen and you give it time and you keep coming back and showing the same group of people more of your videos, they're going to naturally start to know, like, and trust you, and they're going to reach out when they need real estate services, okay? So you can drive them to your website, but in a lot of ways, I think you should focus more on providing value and let them get to know you over time. Okay, so that was a crash course, obviously. That is about as fast as I think we can cover that today. I do want to remind you one more time, we are holding that tour and demo tomorrow, so if you are available and you'd like to join us, it's a really great opportunity to learn more about the school. Again, I apologize for putting the wrong link in the chat, but I went ahead and shared the link one more time in the chat. If you want to go ahead and click on that so you can get over there and register for our tour and demo, where we'll show you everything that we have to offer inside of Business Video School, okay? So let's see if there's any last second questions.
There are some questions. Yeah, there are some questions. One was from Tracy. She wants to know if there's an ads library on YouTube like Facebook.
I do not know, actually. Yeah, sorry, I can't answer that one. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, what about, Lori asked about what is the display URL?
So the display URL is just, if you have like a really messy URL with like a bunch of numbers and stuff in it, you can type out a URL that's like a simpler, cleaner version of it. Then that's what shows on the ad. But when they click on the actual ad, they'll be taken to the original URL. So it's just a way to kind of display a URL that's not as messy looking.
So in other words, and Josh asked this question, the final URL button, is that where it takes them if they click on the call to action?
The final URL is where they go. The display is what shows up on the ad. Yeah.
Awesome. And did you mention already where a copy of this webinar, will it be sent out, or how will that be received?
I always tell people the easiest way to get a copy of the LCA webinars is to check out the LCA YouTube channel. So, and then it'll be there in a few days. Obviously, there are some issues. A lot of times you can just find it on the Facebook page, but the streaming's not working on Zoom today. So
it is actually.
Oh, it is
now?
Live.
Yeah, we are live.
Well, then in that case, check out the Facebook page.
Yep. A couple more questions. What is the implication of cost view? She says, is the budget anyhow fixed?
Well, so when you bid per view, you have an overall budget, and then you have what you're willing to bid for every view, right? So if you're willing to bid 10 cents a view and it costs you 10 cents for every view, and you bid $10, you'll get 100 views, right? So you're basically just controlling your costs in two different ways. If you bid less per view, what Google's going to, or what YouTube is going to do is going to look at what you're willing to bid, and whoever's willing to bid the most gets that impression. So if you bid too low, your ad may never show. And actually keep an eye on that. If you are bidding really low on your views and your ad's not running, that would be why. So that would be the difference there.
Awesome. And then one more question. What is the call to action? What is the call for action if it's an intro video, which that's probably just more of a, I mean, it could be a number of things, really just probably, in my opinion, now Nick, you might have a different opinion, but my call to action would be, depending on what the intro video was about, but it's just about you, drive them back to somewhere where you have a lot of content about you. So if that's Facebook, if that's a website, if that's Instagram, if that's TikTok, it doesn't matter. Drive them wherever you have the most content about you, or the most content about your brand, or the most content about your business. That's where I'd send them.
Cool.
I think that's it.
That was it. Yeah. Good stuff.
Perfect. So we have a couple more minutes. If not, we'll wrap it up. Nick, you have anything else to share?
No, that's it. So last thing I will say is I'm just going to put the link one more time in the chat. If you are curious about Business Video School, join us tomorrow for the tour. It's the best way to learn what we do and find out if it's a good fit for you. And hopefully I'll see some of you over there tomorrow.
Awesome. We'll leave it up for just a second. It looks like we've got, let me just double check. It looks like we got everything answered. We're good to go. Thank you guys for being on today, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye-bye.